that is like get more website visitors, you might not have a button called sign up now. So in this example, we're going to focus on the button learn more, because we want people to go onto our website and learn more about our products and services. So now we have the skeleton of a basic ad. How many people have done these few steps before? Awesome. So the critical part of after you've created an ad, to make sure it's effective, you want to make sure it's going out to the right people with the right duration and the right budget attached. Facebook has close to 2 billion global active users. That's a lot of people you could be reaching. But your business might not be relevant to all those people. So if you're running a shop that sells wool knit, really nice scarves, you might not want to be targeting people that live in really warm places. It's very standard stuff. So you want to make sure you're honing in on the right audience for your business. So things you can consider for that part is this an existing audience? Do they already interact with your brand? Is it a completely new audience? If it's a new audience, what are they like? What are they interested in? You can always go back to your initial brainstorming worksheet to make sure you're targeting the right people. Once you have an idea of which people you want to be targeting, we'll move on to the second part of that form we were filling out. So the second part is the audience part. You're going to see 3 major options that you can choose from. The first one is creating a new audience. Brand new, you haven't interacted with them before, maybe you're pivoting, maybe you're struggling to get there. The second one is people who have already liked your page. That's really great if you've already created that buzz and you want to get them to learn more about something or get them to buy in on something. And the third one is people who have liked that page and their friends, because it might be relevant to their friends as well. So let's go through an example of creating a custom audience. When you click on the first option and create a custom audience, you'll be prompted to, first of all, name that audience so that if it's effective, you can use it for next time. You're going to add in all the specific characteristics of that audience. So what is their age, what is their gender, where they're located, and what are their interests. And it's interesting to note that you can choose multiple locations. So in Monique and Chevalo's case, when they were trying to sell more burger sauces to different parts of the US, they would be selecting each city that they would be selling at as they grew. And while you're selecting this information, it's important to keep your eye on that audience meter at the very bottom. Now, there's no perfect formula for selecting the pristine and the best audience, but that audience meter can help you determine if the criteria you've selected results in an audience that's too narrow, which even though it is relevant to them, you might want to increase your reach. If that audience is too broad, so yes, a lot of people are going to see that ad, but will they actually click in or will they actually buy in on something that I don't find relevant? And once you have your draft or your new audience selected, you're going to move on to the budget and the duration. Now, you're going to see here the suggested budget and duration based off of what all the information you previously entered that Facebook will suggest you. But you can always go in and adjust. So for example, you can adjust the different amounts that you're willing to spend. And next to it, based off of what kind of ad you spent, you can see the projected results. So if it's page likes, you'll see if I spend this amount of money, I'm expected to get this amount of page likes per day. It's important to note here, the budget and the duration is really also going to depend on your business. So for example, if you're a food truck, you're only in one specific intersection for 3 days, you might want to up that budget and obviously only run it for 3 days. But if you're a retail shop and you're switching out your displays for the next season, you might want to run that ad for a bit longer to make sure the people that are walking by can see that. So once you have your budget and duration check, you can also review this information on the very bottom, where you'll see how much you're expected to spend, how many days it'll run, and when it will stop, which is important if you have a major launch as the end event. Also note that, I don't know about you, but $50 is still a little scary for me to be putting into an ad budget. So this $50 doesn't actually get spent all up front. It gets spent as your ad runs. So if, let's say, 2 days down the line, you don't really see it being as effective, you can go back and edit your budget, you can pause it, you can edit your ad, or you can pour more into it if you see it's being really successful. We'll go through that in a bit. And then finally, when you're happy with all of this, you can select promote. And what that does is your ad will go through a review to make sure it's aligned with our policies. And it usually gets back to you within 24 hours, but you can check on your status here, where you can see the summary of the rest of the ads that you have as well. All right, for how many of you was this your first time walking through the entire start, finish, edit, everything process? Okay. For the rest of you, and for all of you who have done this for the first time, a really important thing after you've created your ad is to check in on how it's doing. So we're gonna go through the Ad Center to see the results. On the Ad Center, in the Overview tab, you're gonna see a summary of all the different ads you've run on your page. So the number of different ads, the amount you spent collectively, how many days have you been running it for, and some metrics. If you go onto your first page of your worksheet on the bottom, you're going to see a mini table that has examples of a few metrics that you might want to measure success by, depending on your different ad type. But if you're more interested in diving into that, there's a session called something related to ad strategy that we're going to be having after lunch that you can sit in on as well.
Lunch.
So let's say
Do we have
you want
that
to look at a
in
very
the photo,
specific ad
what
that
they're
we
talking
just
about?
posted. You go into View Results, and right away you're able to see how many people have clicked on that ad, how many people have seen it, and your cost per click. If you scroll down a bit, you're actually able to see the audience that interacted with that ad. And that might help you for many reasons. So for example, if my original ad goal was more so to target young women, and I'm seeing that a lot of older men are clicking in on that, I might either want to reassess which audience I should be looking at, but also maybe I want to readjust the content itself because it's not applicable, it seems, to my target audience. On the left, you're able to see the summary of your budget and the amount you spent, so that you can keep that in mind when you're coming up with ideas for adjusting this ad. We want to highlight that there is no one-size-fits-all perfect formula when it comes to budgeting. So make sure to trial, look at your results, and optimize. Once you have something in mind, you can easily edit that ad by going in to your Ad Center again, clicking into the View Results, and making sure that you're on the Edit tab. On this Edit tab, you're able to change the content of your ad, the audience, the budget, the duration, and everything. And sometimes, when you have an edit in mind, you might not have the content right away. So you can go in and pause the ad so that it doesn't keep running, it doesn't keep spending your money before you go back and have the right content to change it to. So I'm going to share one last example of a small business and how they were able to use this trial and optimization method to tackle a big challenge. So this is a story of Wicked Good Cupcakes. They were created in Cohasset, Massachusetts, by a family who loved making cupcakes in jars. And they were so successful that they couldn't keep growing while ensuring the freshness of their cupcakes. So they started franchising their business, which means they were partnering with entrepreneurs who wanted to run their very own Wicked Good food truck, Wicked Good Cupcake food truck. So this was a great pivot from a business operations standpoint, but that meant a big challenge for them. That meant they now had two audiences they had to target. They were first targeting the people who ate the cupcakes, which is awesome. They already had a good following. And now they had to target entrepreneurs and franchisees who might want to run their own food trucks. They'd never operated in this space before. So they started playing around with their audiences and with ads. And what they found out is that the ideal ad that was really receptive for the audience was to people who are interested in entrepreneurship, franchising, and catering. People who, by using their pixel, they were already going onto their website and looking in the franchise area. So Pixel is a wonderful tool to track and take advantage of how people are interacting with your website. If you're interested in this, we have a session next in the advanced track that's talking about Pixel. And lastly, when they were on the road going to franchise conventions, they also used location to target people who are going to those events in those those locations. So we went through a lot today, but I hope you got a lot out of how to create ads. There are a few key takeaways I want to share with you to make sure you keep this handy when you're at home running your ads. The first one is there's actually different ads to keep in mind when you think of ads. So there are the automated ads, there are the manual ads, and even within manual ads, there's just boosting a post or creating an ad from scratch. Even though that could be pretty straightforward to use, you're busy on a day-to-day. So make sure if you're delegating that the members on your team have the right access and the roles to be creating ads. And finally, when you're actually creating ads, make sure that it's the right ad. Go back to that worksheet and use the exercise we did today. Make sure you have the right thumb-stopping content as well that's specific to your goal. And make sure that it's to the right audience. Remember that advertising on Facebook is unique because it's the only place people are public about the things they like and the other brands they interact with. So take advantage of that. And finally, trial and optimization is key. Always keep tabs of how your ad is doing so that you can better it in the future. So if you have any more questions about this, or you want to pull out your laptop and go through some of this together, you can visit us at the Learning Lounge in the back. And we do practice what we preach about trial and optimization. So feel free to stop by our feedback booth and tell us how we're doing so we can optimize for the next.